Raufeon Stots, welcome to MMA Live TV. How are you doing, mate?
Doing great, man. We're as good as I can be. Just hanging in there.
Hanging at the crib at the moment?
Hanging at the crib, man. The casa.
Casa del Stots. Mate, tell us, obviously, with this COVID stuff, it's been manic. What are you doing to keep yourself entertained, to keep yourself sharp and in the mode?
I've been trying to we at our household we've been trying to like keep a schedule as much as we can. So and we also have a kid too, so that kind of helps, We got schedule around his like nap times and times he get up.
Yep.
So I think that's like helping me a little bit. So I got like a scheduled time to work out, scheduled time to read and my wife is a teacher, so she has to work pretty much 9 to 5, but keeping a schedule I feel like has helped us, for the most part. I mean, I don't feel like I'm that outgoing
Yep.
as like outgoing as far as like if you get me out, I'm talking to people, I'm outgoing in that. But as far as like wanting to be outside, I'm not that person.
You're right. So you're
So
you're okay being inside.
yeah, I'm okay being inside. I'm okay. My wife is more of a she gets a little stir crazy, but I'm more I can sit at home and play this game for
Yeah,
as
right.
long as she'll let me.
What
So
what what games are you playing at the moment?
man, I play Fortnite a lot,
Oh
'cause
yeah.
I got some friends that play that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I play really. But I play it a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Any chance I get, I'll play it.
Fair enough, mate. And from a combat sort of perspective, like what can you do alone? Is it just a lot of running, cardio, or shadowboxing?
Yeah, running, cardio, and video, pretty much.
Yeah.
My Duke Rufus does a good job of giving us things to study. Keeping us involved intellectually,
Mm.
and trying to grow in areas we can grow now. So I've been doing a lot of like footwork things, and I bought a bag for my basement. Working on as far as like working out, like
Yep.
shadow box, running, bunch of stuff on my own. I had my wife actually hold pads for me a couple times
How did
too.
that
So
go?
it went pretty well
Yeah.
considering it was
Did,
the first time.
did you get some
She didn't
jabs
get
back?
huh?
Did you get some jabs get thrown back at you?
No, she didn't throw none at me. We just hitting the pads. I had her hit the pads, and then I hit the pads on her.
Yeah, nice one.
So it was all right. Something to do.
Awesome, awesome. So for the audience here, can you tell us? We always like to delve into our fighters and just understand how did you get into the journey of MMA specifically?
So for me, I was a wrestler. I wrestled in college.
Yep.
I wrestled 2 years in high school, then wrestling in college. Then after college, I actually was gonna help out at a gym that I don't know. Jens Pover.
Correct. Yeah, I'm familiar with. Yep.
Yep, Jens Pover was starting a gym in Kearney, Nebraska, where I was wrestling in college,
Sure.
and that year I was like assistant coaching, finishing up my degree there,
Yep.
and so he and a friend had asked me to come and just help out with wrestling, like help coach some wrestling classes and wrestle around with some of the MMA fighters. So I started doing that, and then I started it because my plan originally was to go after because I won nationals twice in wrestling. My plan was to go to Olympic Training Center to wrestle.
Yep.
So I was pretty much just finishing up my degree, and then I was gonna go wrestle, hopefully, or wrestle at the training center. And so then I went to a couple of his classes. Then he eventually got me to do some boxing and do some jujitsu. And then I started to like it, and he eventually got me to. He took me out and had me have a fight.
Yep.
And then after that, the gym eventually actually like shut down due to attendance there. And then so I went back to where he was from, Davenport, Iowa. I went back to Iowa with them, and then trained with Pat Miletich and some of the guys there.
Yep. Yep. Fair enough. So how did the association with the Rufus camp come about? Like, how does that connect?
So I was at Miletich Fighting Systems for a while, maybe like a year, and then it was so the coaches like Pat Miletich, he was commentating for LFA
Yep.
and RFA, and then Jens Pover was actually he was doing a Winter Warrior in Australia
Oh yeah.
at the At the time I was out there, so I was like I was there, and I was training with some good guys like Sean West and Josh Smith and Junior Hernandez. Eric Eric Shelton was there. But I was also feel like I was not. I was just relying on my wrestling, and I wasn't really growing as a mixed martial artist. So I was like the coaches wouldn't come back that often because they had commentating jobs. So
Yep.
then I went to well, I asked Pat Miletich if he could or if he knew any gyms for me to go to.
Yep.
And he recommended Rufus Sport. And so then I went out to Rufus Sport and I checked it out. And I went on a day that they were doing a grappling day, and it was like amateurs there. So I went there at first, and then I was kind of like having my way, and it was kind of the same deal. And I was like, I don't know if this is a place for me. But then like maybe a couple rounds in, the professor Daniel Wanderlei asked me to roll or whatever, and he tapped me like three or four times, like within 3 minutes or whatever. And I was like, you know, yeah, I gotta be here. This is a place to be at. If not, at least just to get this guy. And that was when it was grappling, because I knew their striking was top notch before I got there or whatever. But their grappling was what surprised me. You know, that's what really got me hooked.
So at that time, you were obviously looking to improve your skills and work with people that could add to your skill set. Was it grappling and jiu-jitsu specifically that you were after, or were you looking to improve everything?
Pat Millis just told me, because I was still an amateur at this point, and Pat told me that I should go out there because I needed the striking.
Sure.
Like I was decent enough in striking, but I wasn't. I didn't know what I was doing really. I was just doing what I seen people doing. I didn't know the wins, and the the why to do things. So Pat Miller said I should go there because he blends his striking well with MMA. So that's what I was going there originally for. I was trying to find a place originally that was going to help me be a better striker.
Yep, fair enough. And for those that don't know, can you explain to the audience how what's the usual progression for an MMA fighter that gets into the regional circuit, trying to get to the big dances, like either a Bellator or UFC? Like
as far as fights, promotions?
Yeah, like not necessarily all the promotions, but what is there a usual sort of progression? Like, are you going
so
to...
usually generally there is a so a fighter, he starts off, he gets a couple amateur fights.
Sure.
In a regional usually a regional circuit. So like in that city, usually he's finding amateur fights.
Yep.
And this is like the usual part. There's people that do things differently, but generally they do it in the city they're at. Then as they get better amateur, maybe they win belts amateur, then they go and they fight like the top they fight up to the top promotion in that city. And then after they're at the top of the promotion in that city, then they'll go pro, and then kind of the same thing. They might carry over if they're already known as the top in the top promotion in that city. They'll carry on to be pro in that same promotion. And then after that, you're as you're at the top, or you have your name established kind of in that city, then you start branching out to the region. And this could happen as an amateur too. You could start branching out in the region, and then you get noticed by regional promotions. And regional promotions would be more, I say regional promotions are more like ones are they are like televised or whatever.
Sure. Yep.
For a certain region, you know.
Yep.
So it could be on like Fight Pass or the Access TV.
Yep.
Well, those are ones here, but yeah. And so then after regionally, so you have fighters from the South, or you have fighters from the North, or as far as the U.S. Then eventually you move up to nationally known promotions.
Yeah.
Yeah. LFA would probably be a nationally known promotions that are taking people from kind of all over in that same country, though. You're still fighting in that same country. And then After that, you progress to like worldwide
Yeah, the bigger sort of
stages.
promotions.
Yeah, which are the biggest, which are the ONE FC, the Bellator, UFC, and places that are doing like
Yeah,
things overseas
yeah.
from where they are originally.
You've openly spoken about like the trials and tribulations of getting signed to a bigger promotion, and to me with
Mm-hmm.
fighters, there's the physical element about fighting, and then there's the mental warfare that goes on in terms of trying to get to where you want to go as a fighter. I think you've said that this is something that you don't want to be average at, especially at an amateur sort of level, right? Because it obviously doesn't pay well. It's not good for the
Yep.
body.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not fighting is not something you want to be just okay at. For me,
yeah,
it's just too much. You lose too much to be just okay at fighting.
yeah.
It's a lot of toll on your body. It's a tremendous toll on your finances. So you're either doing this for a goal of being great, or you're just wasting your time, in my opinion.
Yep. So for example, the one loss in your record against Merab, I'm not even going to bother to try and pronounce that surname.
I think Marab Dishavili. I got that name
Oh, there we
etched
go. There we
in my
go.
head.
Etched with the back fist.
Right. I'll never forget it.
So obviously, and I mean, the stakes were a bit higher there because I'm assuming you knew that
Yeah.
Dana White was in the building, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, the funny thing is that Dana White had I met him at a like I had just had a fight and I met him like the day after at a at Demetrius Johnson fight in Kansas City.
You're right. Who is?
Against Wilson Reyes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so I sat like cage side with him. Tyron Woodley brought me down to like hang out with him and like talk to him or whatever. And I sat with him cage side and watched the fight. And then and then he told me, hey, if you want, we got a fight going on in Atlantic City, or we're looking for a fight. If you want to come out,
Yep.
you can come out, and I'll have you fight somebody out there.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, And so I was talking to him, about it. So I knew he was going to be there, and I knew what it was. I think the main thing for me was I felt I had made it already, like at that point.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I had trained hard because I knew, but I felt like the fight was going to be a given, and I wasn't prepared mentally for it not to be. So
Yeah. Right.
and I paid for it.
It's interesting you say that. Do you felt that you fought out of character there, or not really?
So I don't necessarily feel like I fought out of character for me at the time. So at the time I was thinking, like this kid is tough. I'm better than him, which I still think that, but I was not ready to fight right away. I was ready to eventually like win. I knew I was in my head that I was going to win, and I just had to go through the motions. So I was like there, but I was like going through the motions, almost as if like I had already won.
Yeah. Okay.
So like while I was in the fight, I wasn't ready to make any reads,
Yep.
I had a game plan, and I was not open to anything else, him attacking at me. I was in a different headspace, and it wasn't more like it was kind of like I didn't take advantage of or I wasn't reacting to anything.
Sure.
I was just like going through the motions,
Yep.
kind of.
Fair enough. You speak to game plans, and usually within a fight camp in that, I'm assuming that it seems like Duke Roofs and the team are very much strong on that element. How much of what we see out there as a fighter is as a result of you actually following the game plan to a T, and how much of it is improvisation?
So I would say there's about like 30 to 40% is a game plan.
Okay.
If you can, but I feel like every fighter is gonna fight you differently than they fight a lot of the people. So you never know what they're gonna come out with. So you have to be open to adapt. And I think Duke does a good job of you letting us know that we're at the end of the day, the fighter, you got to make the reads.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna show you things that you should
be aware of.
Places where you should try to guide the fight or whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the fighters got to make the read. So that's majority of what happens in the fight. You're gonna see things like one he could do a totally different thing than you've seen him done before, and you gotta be able to adapt and make adjustments.
Yep. How would you describe your fighting style now? So you've obviously got that wrestling base, and it would be
Hmm.
fair to say that to a degree, that's where your strength lies. And ideally,
Yeah,
within the course of 3 to how many rounds, you'd want to take your opponents down. But how comfortable are you on the mat? Like, how comfortable are you
I would
striking?
say so. I would say I'm if you divided my skill, I would say yeah, I would be more. I would be wrestling would definitely if it was wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing.
Yep.
Wrestling is definitely gonna be the most. I'm the most dangerous there.
Yep.
Jiu-jitsu would probably be second, and then striking would be third. But there's like, so if it was like a split from 100, I would say like maybe 32% wrestling, or not 30, maybe 40% wrestling, 30 something percent BJJ, and then
Yep.
29 or something striking. Like, I feel like I'm super well rounded, but I know where
Lie.
my
Yep.
strengths lie. So I'm able to like, I feel like I'm well rounded enough that I can choose where I want to fight somebody. So
Yep.
if I fight someone who's very good at jujitsu, I'm want to say 80% of the time I'm better at them at that than the other better than
The
them
guys.
at the other disciplines.
Cool. Cool.
You know, so I feel like I'm pretty well rounded. I'm pretty comfortable on my feet. I've had a lot of fights where I've uh, haven't attempted as many takedowns. I feel like I always attempt takedowns just because
Yep.
it's a part of my game. So
Yep.
I don't want to stray away from that. But I would say I'm definitely comfortable
Yep.
on my feet.
That makes sense. I mean, in the Rufus gym, you've got a lot of sharks known there for their striking as well, with the Pettis guys, and Jordan's
Yeah,
not too shabby as well. How often
yeah.
do you get to train with those guys? Like, what's the
So I train
interaction?
with the Pettis, Sergio. I train with more than I train with Anthony. But like, Rufus Sport is a small camp. It's
Mm.
not a lot of people. So I train with them all the time.
Yep.
All of my camps have been with them. It's not like there's different guys for us to what's the name. So a lot of us are having to take on different styles and do things for each other. But that's what I like about Rufus Sport. It's not you don't have tons of people,
Yep.
but like, everybody is very specialized and everybody is very good at what we do. So
Yeah. I've heard those things about Rufus Port. So you've been toiling in the circuit for a while. You've been yearning for that contract. You get the call
yeah,
from Bellator. What's running
yeah.
through your mind? Like, is it vindication? Have we finally made
Man,
it?
it was vindication. It's
Yeah.
vindication, and yeah, just like a sense of relief
Yep.
for my, not only for me, but for my family,
Yeah. Okay.
my immediate family.
Yep.
So because I feel like that's part of the reason that it's frustrating to me,
Yep.
because me myself, I could live on the floor. I could sleep on a cardboard box, in a
Yep.
room with no furniture or whatever, but I
Yep.
don't want my family didn't ask to for me to be an MMA fighter. My family didn't ask for, or there's not their dream for me to be at the highest level of the sport. So they shouldn't have to suffer, I feel like,
Yep.
and that's just my thinking. I don't want them to suffer
Yep.
because of my dreams. So yeah, so it's relieving in that sense. And then for me, like, getting to that level, it was getting to a point where it was getting frustrating to me because of their, I'm making them struggle every day. I'm not um making a way or being lucrative in fighting. I'm making my family struggle, so it's
Yeah.
super frustrating.
Yeah. Did you get any like, were you aware that these talks in Bellator were happening with your agent, or did this literally just come out of left field?
So I went to corner Manuel Sanchez for a
Yep.
fight, and then
Yep.
I talked to John McCart. the
McCarthy, yeah.
referee,
Yep.
Big John, yeah,
Mm.
John McCarthy. And he was like, man, he was just joking though, I think. And
Yeah.
he was like, hey man, when you gonna come over to Bellator,
When you
man?
signed me, I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He was like, because he had seen that the grappling tournament I did. I think
Yeah.
he wrote the rules or something for that grappling match I did,
Yeah.
or super match I did. And
Yeah.
then yeah, he was like, man, you killed that, or you kicked it, or you kicked butt there, or whatever. And then he's like, when you gonna sign? I was like, man, like whenever y'all hit me up, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I thought about it like that weekend, and then I text my manager or
Yeah.
whatever, and he was like, yeah, if that's the move you want to make, yeah, we can see. And then I talked probably like, so I talked to him that morning, and then that later that afternoon he was like, yeah man, they called and they got an offer, and it's way better of an offer than we thought it was gonna be. So
Yeah, nice
and
one.
I was freaking ecstatic.
Awesome. Your first fight against Shaden, how did
Yep.
you feel it went? What was the game plan there? Did you feel it was an elevated level of competition, or
No, I don't feel like it. I feel like I controlled the fight, and I did everything I was supposed to do. I
Yep.
feel like I could have fought a little bit more outside of myself.
Yep.
I feel like it was different in the fact that like everything just felt nice, and it felt it felt amazing to be out there, and the canvas was even like super smooth, and so everything was super nice. What was I finna say? So yeah, I felt like, yeah, the fight. The only thing I wish I would have got was the finish.
Yep.
But I don't feel like he didn't threaten me. He threatened actually he was a lot better than actually I thought he would be. I knew he was gonna be good, but
Yep.
he was a lot better on the ground than I thought he was, and he defended a lot. The main thing, I just have to open up. I gotta I think I've been fighting a certain way just because of finances and things, and not wanting to. Because like right before you get the call, I feel like, well, for me, in my situation, I was like after I had lost that fight, I was like, okay, I cannot lose another fight or I'm gonna be done.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I fought a certain way, and it maybe would have I was winning, but it maybe limited limited my finishes
Yep.
or whatever. But yeah, so now I feel like now I can open up a lot more, and I think I'll be a lot better off going forward.
Awesome. It was interesting that after that fight in the press conference, you kind of mentioned that you felt that you were being ducked by some fighters, like you mentioned Patchy
Yeah, for sure. I
and
know I was being ducked, or I'm being ducked,
yeah,
like for sure.
and
I've
James.
I offered my name to both of those guys when they were they had fighters back out or something.
Yeah.
But I think that's like about me. I'm a threat to a lot of guys because there's no like clear path to beating me.
Yeah.
It's like it's gonna be hard to take me down. It's gonna be hard to submit me. It's gonna be hard to get me out on the feet, which most people think that's their best option. But as I'm getting better, I feel like it's getting harder for people to do so. And so I mean, I understand why, why you wouldn't want to fight me, but
Yep.
But yeah, so because I offer myself to the Gallagher and the Patchy Mix kids, I feel like skill wise and like fight wise, I am like I'm on their level as far as like exposure
Yep.
and height. I'm not there yet. So I can understand where like I would be taken away. Like them fighting me is not a what would you say? Like not advantageous for them
Yep.
hype wise, as far as like building their brand. So it's a threat.
Yep.
I'm a threat to them because I'm on the world stage, I'm relatively not known, or relatively unknown.
Yep.
And then I'm a big threat as far as being a mixed martial artist. So
Yep. How much of that
Still the game.
element of the fight game plays on your mind? In that, are you trying to actively increase your exposure to get that, or how do you think a fighter goes about doing that? Apart from the fact
So the
of
way you do
finishing
that
fights.
is by having exciting fights
Yeah,
and
yeah,
finishing fights. So
yeah,
I got to get up on that. I got to get up on finishing
yeah,
fights
yeah,
and being exciting, which I feel like I fight exciting
yeah,
already.
yeah,
But somebody who hasn't seen me fight, they wouldn't know that. So I
yeah,
gotta have exciting fights.
yeah.
You know.
Fair enough. The bantamweight division there is pretty stacked, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no title holder there at the moment, right?
Yeah,
It's
at the
been
moment there's
vacated.
not. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kuraguchi, he got hurt,
he got hurt. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
relinquished his title.
Yep.
So I feel like that'd be a good place to have a $1 million tournament.
Yeah,
if
so
they
so how do those
do they
work?
have a
Like, is it usually a tournament based in Bellator? Like, how do they progress it from the current sort of fight cadence that they have now to a tournament to find the winner?
so they as far or lately, so Manuel Sanchez is in one now. They
Mm.
had 16 fighters or whatever, and then they match up the 16th, or no, they at first they matched up the 16 fighters, and then they did a raffle, and then the fighters got to pick their next matchup,
Yep.
and then where they wanted to be on the bracket.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so they got a fighter get to pick where they want to be on the bracket, and the other got to pick his matchup, and then yeah, they just fight them out, and they do them kind of as this. So every other show they'll have two of the fighters from the tournament,
Yeah.
so they don't
Yep.
do it in a night. They do it.
Progressively.
I feel
Yeah.
like it's been, yeah, progressively.
Yeah.
As they have fight shows, they'll have like two fighters on the two, or yeah, they'll have two or four fighters on that side of the bracket fight.
Yep. And in this COVID environment, obviously the UFC is doing what the UFC is doing. Dana White's got like tunnel vision and is like, this is gonna happen,
Right.
which is interesting. Croker is obviously a different sort of character and it's taken a bit more of a pragmatic approach. Like you're in Bellator now. As a fighter, I've no doubt that you guys want to go and fight, right? But like,
Yeah.
is the communication between Bellator and their fighters, like how is that in this current environment?
So in this current environment, it's pretty much well, he just released something that said he was aiming for I think he said June or July,
Yeah.
July or June, uh, or late July, June or something like that, late June, July.
Yeah.
So he's taking which I feel like is the safest. He's taking the safest route.
Yeah.
So to my understanding, I talked to my manager today,
Yep.
and we have no word yet on like, because I had a matchup already,
Yep.
and I signed a contract for. So we don't know if I'm going to continue that fight, or the word is that they're going to try to treat it as a postponement, and then they'll try to move the fights just to a later date.
Yep.
So we're hoping for that. But yeah, we have no word yet. I think everybody's waiting to see how this
The
UFC card,
yeah.
and how the pandemic pans out worldwide.
Yep.
As far as what we're gonna do, because I would assume it matters, where the fights are being held. Like my fight was in California, and California was like one of the places that was shut down the fastest. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know yet, but I'm sure they treat their fighters pretty well. I'm sure they'll get everybody taken care of. I'm not worried in that regard. Like, I know
Yep.
how it's supposed to be handled is how it's
Is
going
how
to
it's
be
being
handled.
handled. So
Yeah.
you've been quoted as saying that you're happy where you're at with Bellator, and it's obviously taken you. There's an appreciation of the journey and what it's taken to kind of get there. Is it fair to still say that like your eyes is always still going to be on the big dance on the UFC, or at the moment that's not even in your
At the
peripheral?
moment, I'm focused on getting this Bellator belt.
Yep.
So like at the moment, I'm not necessarily interested in like the UFC. One, because it's not the promotion I'm fighting for, and I'm kind of tunnel vision on what I want right
Sure.
now.
Yep.
The other reason is I'm not a guy that, like, if you didn't take advantage, if you didn't want me, like that's
Yeah. Okay.
cool. Like you're lost, you know.
Yep.
So I'm gonna focus on who like me,
Yep. No,
you
that makes
know.
sense.
So that's where I'm at.
Awesome, mate.
The UFC has like a different kind of format going on now. So you know, it is what it is. I think I'm definitely in the right place for me right
Yep.
now. So
Fair enough.
I'm happy.
And mate, to end it off, Raf the Builder.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more. Like
Ralph the Builder. Let me, you know what I'm saying? Let me tell you about Ralph the Builder. Ralph the Builder out here, you know, doing big things. You know, I done built a gardening table over the quarantine.
Yeah.
In my latest project, you know, I just remodeled my closet, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
Let me show you a little bit of it. You know what I'm saying?
There we go.
Put the nice crispy white shells and stuff.
It looks good when you've put the threads on.
Yeah, man. I'm super happy, super proud.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Ralph the Builder, I'm out here since I became a homeowner and started building and all type of stuff. So,
Is that something you've always done, or is it just come
no,
about?
I like literally just started. If you've seen any of my videos, you will know that I don't do stuff to code and I mess up a lot. Yeah. But no, I started doing that probably maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like when I was so my first project, I feel like we were gonna move into the house and I want to build like nightstands, and you know I made them out of like 2x4s and some old metal or something, and I like it, man. It's fun. It's something that's become fun to me, and it could be my age. You know, I'm 30 now, so maybe I like or that I'm a dad now. Now I like going to Home Depot and doing stuff like that. I don't know. But it's fun to me now.
It's definitely an age thing. Hitting 30s, and like we have a hardware store called Bunnings here, which I don't know if you've seen like videos. It's all the rage. Like in this quarantine environment, it's like one of the few things that.
That's what everybody doing, huh? During the quarantine.
That's it. Going
Remodels.
there, getting concrete, building gardens. Jeez, what's happening? Yeah. What's happening with the world? Let's get some fights, please. I'm driving insane.
Sure. Right?
Awesome, mate. Like, Rafi, you've been a pleasure, a breath of fresh air. We look forward to following your career trajectory and wishing you good things, mate. Thanks for having a chat with MMA Life.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. It's been fun, you know. Thanks for, you know, taking our mind off of this quarantine, you know, having some interviews and having some fun chat from people around the world. It's pretty cool, man. You're from Australia.
It's great, man. We'll chat soon. Cheers.